Hi, this is Rob with Federal Finance CPE, and today's course is Federal Accounting for Reimbursable Work. And this is going to help you understand how reimbursable work actually flows in the federal environment, not just definitions, but it's how work gets done, start to finish. Let me make this real. Have you worked in a system where revenue only gets recorded when something is billed? Or where reimbursable agreements are tracked like cash instead of accrual? Or maybe you've seen audit findings that say revenue isn't recorded when earned, or you have stale UCO balances on your books. These are common issues and usually come from those working with reimbursables not fully understanding how they work or how they're supposed to flow. And why does this get so confusing? Well, you're dealing with a couple of topics when you're dealing with reimbursable agreements. For one, you have spending authority from offsetting collections. While common across the federal agency, not as straightforward as normal appropriation. Next, you have unfilled customer orders, which is a budgetary accounting account and concept that you record when you take orders as a provider. Next complication you have is revenue recognition. Now, this is the idea that you record revenue when it is earned, not when you are billing or when you're paid. It's accrual accounting, but some of our financial systems were built without this in mind, so it causes some complications and workarounds. The last aspect of it is buyer and seller. Reimbursable work is work that's conducted between two federal entities with each other. So you're going to have to know the impact on accounting if you were the buyer, also if you were the seller of the service, because ultimately the federal government consolidates their accounts. So how you record your transactions will affect the overall consolidation. So nothing's in a vacuum. So who is this course for? Now, this course is really going to be useful for those new accountants. We're going to cover reimbursable agreements, reimbursable authority and work from start to finish. And it's going to be great also for any staff that are just new to reimbursable work. Maybe you've been working with assets the whole time you've been in or haven't touched reimbursable agreements recently. This is going to give you a good refresher. The last is just budget analysts too that are supporting reimbursable activities. Many of us touch these in our everyday work, but some of us don't. So this course will be good to get you up to speed and with enough knowledge that you'll be able to talk intelligently and ask very good questions and understand what you're working with. So you might ask yourself, how is this course actually going to work? Well, first thing I'm going to say is throughout all of our modules, we're going to have one scenario, an example that we're going to use to show our buyer and seller side of reimbursable agreements and reimbursable work. We'll be able to cover both when there's an advance involved from the buyer and when there's not an advance. But having that single scenario is going to be really easy for us to go back to it and see the differences. Second thing how it's going to work here is we're going to talk buyer and seller. We're not only talking about buyer, we're not only talking about seller. We're going to show your transactions, your GL accounts, your transaction codes, and how they should be recorded for our scenario for both parties. Going back to that idea, we're going to give you all the knowledge you need to be a well-trained individual in reimbursable agreements. And the last thing is we're really going to focus on the flow. We want you to understand the concepts. The exact accounting will follow because you're going to know where to look for it and where to find it. So our scenario, I want to touch on this. So we're going to use NASA as our example, and they're going to provide space travel service to other agencies. Maybe it's NOAA getting a satellite up there or another agency. Part of it's because I think it's fun having NASA, and it's also a good use case for showing a service that's being provided and used by other agencies. I do want to reiterate, though, you do not need to memorize. And I'm a big fan of this idea in federal accounting. There's just way too much for any one of us to know everything. But you do need to know the flow. You need to know a flow of how budgetary and proprietary accounts should be recorded, and as accounting events occur, what should happen next. That means you're going to be able to also identify the issues that come up, maybe some of those common pitfalls or just timing things that you need to be aware of as you record these transactions. The last is guidance. Going back, you don't need to memorize everything if you know where to look and find it. And we're going to always go back to the authoritative guidance, whether it's referencing just a USSGL, OMB A-11, or OMB A-136, and we'll even get into FASAB standards if we need to. Now I've covered what I want to cover in our course, and we're going to transition into our next module, which is going to define reimbursable work clearly. We're going to have a working definition of what it is. We're going to go into the significance in this federal accounting, some of the issues we need to be aware of, and we'll learn how it affects budget authority and overall financial reporting. With that, I want to see if you want federal specific accounting CPE, go to www.federalfinancecpe.com/free. You'll get 1 free hour of our Treasury Account Symbol course. It's NASBA approved, and it'll give you a good taste of what we do. And with that, I'll see you in the next module.